Hello friends, I want to share with you what I did to improve my distillery from my last video. I'm excited. I just fired this up, so I haven't made any water yet, but I just wanted to show you what I decided to do. So I set this bucket outside and let it freeze. It's not completely frozen, but it's been outside for 2 days, getting pretty cold at night. And so I'm hoping that that's going to help this water stay cold for a longer period of time. But I am prepared with frozen. I have 4 frozen 2-liter bottles of water close by to interchange in and out of here as I do this. I was able to make a full container of water. I'm not really sure if that's like 3 gallons or 2 gallons of water. I'm not sure, but I did make a full one last time I did this method without having this frozen. But I made some improvements to the bucket that I wanted to show you. I was able to get everything to not leak by just swapping out the bucket and getting a brand new bucket and being more careful about the hole that I made. And so there's no sealant on in or out of these holes that I made, and nothing is leaking except this one is tiny bit, just tiny drip. I just happen to have this cork. It's a rubber cork from an old hummingbird feeder that was exactly the right size for my copper tubing, and it works really well for this. That way, if I ever need to take it apart, I can. So everything's not sealed. This is not sealed at all. A little dripping is no big deal. I did decide to bring this whole setup into my garage because sometimes when I do this outside, it's too windy and it's blowing my flame around. I still am getting a lot of soot issues on my pot. If anybody has recommendations, I have adjusted the opening there quite a bit for the vent, and it doesn't make a difference with it at all. And it's been like that ever since we got this burner brand new. It has never, I don't know, something must be wrong. I was hoping maybe someone could have some insight. But what I also decided to do, and what I did last time that helped quite a bit, is as this water starts to heat up and I can feel down the side of the bucket that it's gotten warm down in this area, what I've got now is another tube that when I pop this off of here, the water just sprays straight out. So I'm gonna drain this bucket every so often when it gets too warm so I can get a full container of water. And then I'll just pop this tube into here so that I can drain it into this bucket. And then I can just save this water and reuse it if I need to. And then another thing that I like about having this in my garage is I have a water spigot right up here that lets out cold water. So I hooked up a hose so that I can just very easily refill this after I drain it while it's still, in action, processing and making distilled water. So I was really happy with my last setup, and it wasn't nearly as good as this. So I'm pretty confident that this is going to turn out really well. I find it's not using a lot of propane. I made an entire container of water in like an afternoon, and then it took me a couple days to actually drink it. So one thing I was hoping also maybe someone could have some recommendations about is this is PEX tubing, and it's what they recommended at the hardware store, but I still find a really tiny bit of a plastic flavor, and I was considering cutting this down, but I just kind of like the options of being able to move it. And so I realized that copper would probably be the best way to go to make this not taste like plastic, but I want something flexible and I want the ability to move it around easier. I mean, maybe in the future when and I also want something affordable, I can deal with a tiny bit of plastic flavor that there was, and it's just because this is, a pretty high temperature with steam coming through it. But if anyone knows of some better plastic tubing, I just don't want to go with copper because it's going to limit flexibility and positioning, because I may not always use this here. I could be using this camping. I could be using this. I want this to be mobile, And so, yeah, I would like there to be no plastic flavor. If I ever was to get this in a setting where I knew I was never going to move it, then maybe I would go with like some L-shaped copper or whatever. But at this point, I don't want to spend any more money. I haven't spent hardly any money at all. This was very inexpensive since I already had the pressure cooker and the burner and the propane and all these buckets. I had all these buckets, so they gave me a huge deal on the copper at the hardware store just because it was the manager that helped me and he was nice about it. I don't know. It's just God works things out for me and does that kind of stuff for me all the time. It's just walk in a place and treat people with manners, and next thing you know, they're just like willing to change prices on stuff for you without you even asking. So that's a benefit that the Lord does for me pretty often. So I'm really excited about this, and I'm assuming this is all going to go well. I may do another follow-up video, but technically I really won't have to. I just, like I said, my last attempt was very successful, and my bucket wasn't anywhere near as good of a setup as this is now. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, and hopefully this helps somebody. All right, have a blessed day.